Good morning, Greg Pemberton here with IEC. Today I'm going to talk about the Form 6 Cooper control. We're going to talk about the top portion of the front panel, which is used for programming the control and also providing LED indications. Then we're going to talk about the lower portion of the panel, which is used for operating the control and reclosure. So both the indications and the control buttons are also programmable, and we'll get into how those features work and what they all mean. Okay, we're going to talk about how to make a change on the control, which allows the user to change the state of the control function on the operator panel function keys. You do have a 10-second window, so if you don't do it in 10 seconds, it'll go back to its current state. As you can see, ground trip block is enabled. To make that change, go back to disabling it. We'd hit the change button and then hit the ground trip block. We had 10 seconds there to do that, and the light will go away. Ground trip block is basically your sensing for your neutral curve, your 51N or 50N functions. Non-reclose is set for one trip, and then it will not reclose back in. It's usually on a longer curve than the one-shot setting. It's used for tying. And then supervisory off blocks your back port, so basically nobody via SCADA can change any setting on the control. And then ground trip and non-reclose, all these functions are able to set via SCADA. Just remember to disable them or enable them however you have it. The control set up, you got to do it via SCADA back. So the phase A, B, and C, that's for your triple singles. So you can close in, open one single pole at a time, whatever you want to do there. Option 1, 2, and 3 is function keys that you can enable. You can turn it into a switch mode, which enables the control to turn into basically a switch with no functions. Your source for your loop feeding, whatever you would like to have there. And we're going to talk about hotline tag, one shot, whatever you like to call it. It prevents all closing attempts from the control and shifts to one trip to lockout on the composite curve of the hotline tag. You can use definite time, TCC1 curve, whichever you prefer is faster for your utility, your co-op. So the hotline tag takes precedence over code low pickup, non-reclosing, and fast trips disabled. So basically, whenever you set it up via SCADA, you'll get that light there at the bottom. If you do it locally, you flip the on switch and then you would get the light. Just remember, however you turn it on, that's how you have to turn it off. So if the reclosure were to go out, if you have it tripped via SCADA, then when you go back with it, you need to remove it before you close it in, because you would have low pickup at that time. We're going to get into the other function keys where it shows all the displays. Right there at the top left, it shows the metering, which displays the system instantaneous metering values for current and voltage. Right now that's doing it. It's showing the current values of 0, the voltage is to the right, which shows B 24 point something. Reset targets below the metering resets the fault target indicators on the operation panel. On the events, it displays the last 25 events of the sequence of event logs, and then you have the lamp test, which I'll show you right here. Basically, it checks all your LED indications, all your lamp tests. On settings on the top right, displays the reclosure settings on the LCD display. Your ops counter is total number of trip operations and target counters for A, B, and C. Your ground, your sensitive ground. Then your alarms provide your status information on the LCD's display for all reclosure alarms. And then we already discussed how the change button works. This is going to show you how to trip and close. The button right now that he's pushing is the trip function. So if you have a 3-phase lockout, it would open all 3. And then if you were to set it up single-phase lockout, you can open individual phases if you would like to. Just depends on whatever the function is that you have set up. On the close button, right now the CLPU, which is your code low pickup setting, will be locked in. You do have the option to remove that from the close whenever you push it in. Most people keep it in just to have that inrush of all the transformers, all the houses coming back on. It's just completely up to you. So when you do open the reclosure, you can also manually open it. So there's 3 screens where it'll show a display of each pole, especially if it's a single triple. You can open one individually or all 3 at the same time. So if it is set up on 3-phase lockout, then it will open all 3 whenever you hit the trip button. The next several slides, we're going to talk about the LEDs and what happens when there's a green light, a red light, flashing light, all that. So right now the control OK light is on, which means it's actually normal. If it wasn't normal, then it would indicate a red alarm LED light, which would display battery alarm, RAM failure, ROM failure, no AC, power supply malfunction, REF COM failure. Several of those would cause an issue. The next one is the control power, which the control power, whenever it's green, just like that, it means we're getting good voltage to the control. The LED does not indicate the presence of AC or battery failure if it's not on. Okay, these two kind of go together hand in hand. So whenever it's solid just like this, that means that all 3 phases are open. If it was blinking, then that means 1 or 2 poles are actually open. So you have to be careful with that whenever you have a single phase lockout. Whenever it's closed, you'll have a red LED on the closed signal. But if it's blinking, there's several states where 1 phase can be closed in and then 2 phases open. So there's several options there whenever it's blinking. It's whatever you have it set up to if it's on single phase lockout. So we're going to talk about the A, B, and C fault here at the top first. Whenever the ABC and fault as a phase current was either the maximum phase current or within 20% of the maximum when the trip signal was issued. So basically those lights would come on whenever you have a phase fault. For the ground sensing, that means you have a neutral fault there whenever the trips was asserted. I'm going to skip the alarms one and go to the above minimum on the last LED screen there. Whenever that light is on, basically it's a red LED that indicates the current exceeds the level set for a minimum trip. So I skipped the alarm because the last 3 kind of all went together. If you do have an alarm status, you need to figure out what you need to do with that if something's wrong with the control. So if you have a red LED, that means there's an issue and something needs to be looked at. So the last slide I'm going to talk about is the A, B, and C voltage. Basically, whenever those lights are on, it's just saying it's got a presence of voltage on each pole. And then your frequency trip and voltage trip. On your frequency trip, it indicates a reclosure trip due to an under or over voltage frequency condition. And then the voltage trip was due to a trip of an under or over voltage trip. So that's your 27 function on your control. And then you have your indicators, which is all customizable to you, whatever you choose to put in those indicators for those LEDs for your schemes or whatever you would like. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call or talk to your manufacturer rep about any issue you have. Thanks.